الله الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله.
बिस्मिल्लाहिर्रहमानिर्रहीम। अस्सलाम वालेकुम, मैं शहला गुल अपनी सेहत प्रोग्राम में गोइंग टू होस्ट यू गाइस। आप हमें कॉल कर सकते हैं 0121-285-1845 पे, और हम आज बात करेंगे हेल्थ के बारे में। NHS which is going to be a lot of different issues with NHS and a lot more. हमारे साथ गेस्ट हैं जस्टिन वर्नी, डायरेक्टर ऑफ बर्मिंघम, and let's see what he say. हमारी health जो है, कहते हैं कि like is a crown. Health is your crown and we have to keep that crown very, still and stable, heads up. So we're here today with Justin Varney, Public Health Director of Birmingham. Hello, can you hear me?
I can, and delighted to be with you and your audience.
Thank you so much for being here. Justin, we're going to talk about today NHS, which is like very important for every age at the moment, and we just came out of the pandemic. And what you say coming out of pandemic, is the things being gone subtle as a normal like before, or we're still fighting with vaccination, COVID and everything? What is at the moment of level of like I say people getting vaccinated or people still getting COVID? What is the scenario at the moment?
So at the moment we're still seeing some people catching COVID. At the moment the numbers are starting to come down, and what we've seen is that the vaccine is very good at stopping people getting very sick or dying if they catch COVID. So the people who are vaccinated, although COVID is still not very nice to have, they don't end up in hospital. The people that aren't vaccinated, when they catch COVID, they are still going to hospital and still getting very sick. And unfortunately, we still have several thousand people who haven't had their vaccine in the elderly population, who are most at risk of dying if they catch COVID.
So what you advise the people haven't had their vaccination yet, what they need to do, how they get vaccinated, where they can go, what are the services are still like local?
Sure.
As far as I know, the local pharmacies are booking appointments and you can go and vaccinate in in certain time, first, second and third one, I think. So what you suggest for the people, what they need to do, how important it is for the people to get vaccinated?
It's really important, and the reason I say it's really important is that as we come into the winter, everyone comes indoors. So we all socialize indoors with the windows closed, and that means we will see more COVID and probably also a lot of flu. It is never too late to start your COVID vaccine. So if you haven't had your COVID at all, still okay. Talk to your GP or to your pharmacist, and they will be very happy to get you protected as winter comes.
That's good. So how with the schools and children's, like you say, children's been in school every day and like they get flu. Obviously children are very vulnerable, they cannot control themselves, they play, they touch everything and everything else, and I heard like it's a lot of children being affected in a COVID. School was closed in COVID, but like after that when school opened, still children come back home with the COVID. So how you tell parents keep very close eyes to the children's and keep things clean and vaccination?
So for children, I think there are three things to be aware of. So first of all, for children, they can have COVID vaccine. It's very safe for children, and it will reduce their chance of becoming unwell, but also it reduces their chance of passing COVID on to granny or granddad. So that's why you would get children protected, but it's not essential for children to have COVID. For small children, for children under 5, the flu vaccine is important because for small children, if they catch flu, it can be a very serious illness. So flu vaccine for young children. And then the third at the moment is polio. So if your child is under 5, they should have had what's called a 6-in-1. It gives protection against 6 different diseases with 1 injection. And you would normally have it started before your first birthday. That protects against a disease called polio. Polio is very rare in the United Kingdom, but at the moment there are some cases in northwest London. And so we are saying to all parents, please make sure your small children are up to date with their childhood vaccinations. And if they're not, please talk to your GP and get that changed.
As you mentioned, is another 6 type of illness children can catch, but like it can cover up a lot of. What are the other 6 illnesses can be protected?
So the injection, I have to look at it on my other screen because I haven't memorized all 6.
It's okay.
But I will remember.
As far we get the right information to the parents and everyone, as how important is something probably we're missing.
Exactly. So the 6-in-1 vaccine, which protects against diphtheria, it protects against hepatitis B.
Wow.
It protects against a lung infection called Haemophilus influenza type B, protects against tetanus, and against whooping cough, and against polio.
Wow.
So all of those are very serious diseases if babies get them. But the 6-in-1 vaccine, you would normally give to babies when they're 8 weeks old, and then they have another 3 doses at 2 doses at 12 weeks and 16 weeks. So 3 doses of the vaccine. But it's one that parents might have missed if their baby was born overseas or they were traveling during that first year. So it is an important one. If your baby hasn't had all 3 doses of the 6-in-1 vaccine, please talk to your GP, because these are very nasty diseases if your baby gets them.
So what is the level at the moment of patients like coming into what age is still getting affected with the COVID? And obviously COVID had another very different type of specific names came out for the COVID, and a lot of different illness came up. People are very like vulnerable, and like they still, I see is not people not wearing masks. They're not like before. They've been using a hand sanitizer and everything. So we still have to be very, very careful. Or while we had vaccine, and still we have to. I know we still have to be very careful. But like, what at the moment your records or NHS records showing up, how big are like more people coming in, what age is coming in with the COVID?
So the difficulty on giving a simple answer to that is that many people in hospital are in hospital because of other things, and they also had COVID. So they had a heart attack, and then when they're in hospital, we test them and they have COVID as well. And that means that the recovery from their heart attack is more difficult because their body is also fighting COVID, but it is not the COVID that caused them to be in hospital. So at the moment, it's very difficult to say, oh, there are this number of people in hospital just because of COVID. What we do know is that the number of people with COVID across the country is starting to come down at the moment. So it has been very high over May and June and July, and over August it is starting to come down. And that is because it is starting to come down. And that is because over the summer we have had what's called Omicron B. So a particular version of COVID, and lots of people have caught it. And then once they have caught it, they have some protection. So what we're not seeing is people catching Omicron B twice. What we're worried about is as the winter comes, we will see different versions of COVID. And we know from Australia that is currently in winter, we see that there's a lot of COVID and a lot of flu, and it's a different type of COVID from the COVID we have at the moment. So it may be Omicron C, or it might be a new variant called something else. And that's why we need to make sure that our vaccination is as good as possible to protect people coming into the winter.
We are looking forward to, we can say like we're looking forward to the new version of COVID. And
yes, I would say not looking forward to
and
it.
everyone. So I can say like how important it is to get vaccinated, and I'm going to say whoever haven't done their vaccination, they should do that. It's not harmful. Many people have with vaccine, we've been affected in different illness, because I heard people, I don't know, it's a rumor, so it's like very like people say, oh, we had a vaccine and we find like more illness, we feel weak, being affected with the vaccine. Is that really true? In people's mind, people say we affected with it, and rather than protective, we've been affected with the vaccine. So how good that vaccine is, what side effects of vaccines have? Because I heard it's a different type of vaccines there. So which one is the best one, and what effects coming on the vaccine?
So all vaccines have side effects, like all medicines. Any medicine that you take has the risk of side effects, and there are things that happen often, common side effects, and things that happen very, very, very rarely. And if you open, for example, your packet of paracetamol or aspirin, there will be that leaflet that has a list of everything that can go wrong. So with vaccines, it is the same. Most people in the 24 hours, so the day or two after the vaccine, will have a sore arm. They might have some itching where the vaccine is injected, and they may feel a little bit of a temperature and a bit fluey and a bit achy. And that's because the body is reacting to the vaccine and it's learning to defend itself. But in general, those symptoms settle within a day or two. If the symptoms go on for more than 3 or 4 days, then you should contact your doctor, but that is rare. The side effects, the serious side effects that people have seen in the news, the blood clots, for example, the likelihood of getting a blood clot from the vaccine is about 1 in every 165,000 people who have the vaccine get a blood clot. The risk of having a blood clot if you catch COVID is about 1 in 16,000 people that catch COVID have the same kind of blood clot. The risk of that blood clot if you're a smoker is about 1 in 1,000 smokers. So your risk of having this serious side effect from the vaccine is 100,000 times less than the risk if you're a smoker of having the same serious clot.
Okay. So are you saying there is no very high risk with the vaccine? It's just a normal to have a little bit heavier arm or fever for a few days, and after that, but that's all.
The risk of a serious side effect.
Very, very afraid. And how come we have like different type of vaccines? So will you like to, or you can, if you can share information with the different vaccines, which one is the best one, or because it's so much in people's mind. It's like it's very important to people have vaccine. So we're here now. Well, I'd like to discuss this.
Yeah, sure. So we now are only using in the UK the Pfizer vaccine, which is the one that has the least side effects. So it has the lowest amount of side effects. So we no longer use the AstraZeneca one, which is the one that had slightly higher number of clots. But to put it in perspective, the risk of a serious side effect from the Pfizer vaccine is less than the risk of you being killed if you drive from Birmingham to London and back again in a car.
Oh.
So when we think about how we judge risk in our life, most of us would happily drive to London and back and not think that this is particularly risky. But then the vaccine people think is more risk, is they think more about the risk, although the risk of the serious side effect is far lower than the risk of driving to London and back.
Great. So you just say like vaccine is very important, and is with from all those ages, they're thinking they get quickly ill, or they haven't done vaccine, they should do as soon as possible. You can go to the local pharmacy or contact your doctor, GP. If it's any other illness, and specifically, you can discuss with your GP. So Justin, I'm going to ask you one more question in my head. How often, because it's 3 vaccines important, like you have to do 3 vaccines, and you say new variant coming in probably in winter, because people are getting
there'll be a booster, yes.
So is these three vaccines are like going to be like the same for everyone, or is going to be anything different? Any other changes coming in vaccines?
So so the vaccines are like sitting an exam. So our body is given a test, and each time we take the test, we learn it a bit better. So it's a bit like doing your 11 plus and then your GCSEs and then your A levels. If you do all 3, then you're an expert. But if you only do 1, you know a little bit, but not enough. So that's why there are multiple doses for the vaccine. In the winter, we will be, with the flu vaccine, be giving a booster dose for the elderly, for over 50s, and for small children. And that will be at the same time as the flu vaccine. And that will have the new type of COVID in it, the Omicron variant. And that's like a top-up exam. It's a bit like a mock exam. So it's why we can give it at the same time as the flu jab, because your body's not learning how to defend itself against COVID. It's just getting a slightly different version to look at. So that's why we can do the booster and the flu together, whereas normally we do them separately. But at the moment, the plan is, if you've had all 3, then you should be protected unless there's a completely different version of COVID that comes along. And that is very clearly stopping people dying and stopping people ending in intensive care. But if you are elderly and particularly vulnerable, that 4th booster this winter, when you get your flu jab, will just give you that little extra top up of protection as we come into the winter.
Justin, we have a video from NHS, which the NHS releases the new video for the children, how they get vaccinated. We're going to play that in a bit.
Brilliant.
So our viewers can see, and it's like it's a small awareness video. Probably you know as well, because you definitely, that's your smile telling me you do know. So we're going to play this in a moment, and so see what I can't wait to see as well, because I haven't seen as well. So let's see the video with the children vaccination.
Routine childhood vaccination is really important for protecting your child's health. Vaccines are safe, effective, and they can help protect your child from a range of nasty illnesses for the rest of their lives. What's more, they help to safeguard the health of your children's friends and your community. Staying up to date with childhood vaccinations is important, as they can help us defeat a number of illnesses which threaten children's health. To find out more, visit the NHS website or drop in at your local health centre or GP surgery. Get vaccinated, stay protected.
जी आपने देखिए कि वीडियो फ्रॉम NHS जो बच्चों की वैक्सीनेशन की है. So it's very important we vaccinate children and ourselves as well because of COVID. As I just mentioned earlier, it's a winter coming, and in the winter we get quick flus, which is normal. We get flu, we get cough and cold. Because of the COVID, we have to protect ourselves more safe way, and we should get vaccinated. And new vaccines like available on your local pharmacy. If it's anything, again I'm going to say, if it's anything specific to your health, everyone, you do discuss with your doctor and get advice before getting vaccinated. Otherwise, your local pharmacy and GP are always connected, and they can give you information to how to get vaccine. Justin, how you find the video with the children? What you want to add something into, or you want to say something about the video?
No, I think it's a really lovely video, and I think it's important. As parents, we want to do the best for our children. We want our children to grow up strong. We want them to do the best in life. And often I talk to parents who are worried about vaccines, and when I explain, for example, the HPV vaccine that we give to 11 and 12-year-olds, which protects against cervical cancer, and they go, but my child isn't in a relationship, you know, I don't really want to think about them growing up. And I have to explain that the reason we give it to them then is because we need them to have the protection before they have a relationship. And that is why we do it at 11 and 12. The same when we give the children the vaccines when they're 1 or 2, when they're very little, is because if we teach their body to defend itself when their body is learning to defend itself, those lessons are locked in for life, and the child is then protected. And that's really important, particularly for a disease like mumps or measles or rubella. When women get pregnant, if a woman catches rubella during pregnancy, then her baby may be very, very damaged by the rubella. But if she was vaccinated as a child, she's protected. So that's the thing. It is scary, but you know, these are safe injections. We've given millions of people now these injections. We know the side effects. We know what to look out for. So it is really important, I think, as parents, we do the best to protect our children. And it's no different from putting the seatbelt on when you put them in the back of the car. Giving them the vaccine gives them that extra bit of protection, particularly when they go to school or they go to nursery. They're mixing with other children. You want them protected before they go into the big world.
We have to protect them in every era. We're coming, like, and health is, as I said, is a crown on your head. You have to keep it nice and shiny.
Absolutely.
I would say, like, it's just like children. I'm going to mention again, like with the children with the special needs or they're on medication or anything. It's like how important for those parents whose children are very young or with very high illness already and they are on medication. How are we keeping up with that side of health?
So for children that have special needs, most of them, the healthcare professionals that the parents are already talking to will be talking to them about when to give them the vaccine. And the vast majority of vaccines are safe for children with disabilities. And in many cases, we really want them protected more than other children because their bodies already have challenges. So we really don't want them getting sick. Vaccines are particularly important for children with asthma. So particularly the flu vaccine, but also the COVID vaccine, but also the 6-in-1. I talked about the Haemophilus influenza bit of that vaccine. That's a very nasty chest infection that particularly makes babies and small children very, very sick. So if your child has asthma, making sure your child is vaccinated protects them. So I would say for parents who have children with health conditions, please get the vaccines. If your child has a lot of health conditions, if they're very allergic, for example, and they have one of those special adrenaline pens because they have severe allergic reactions, then talk to your GP. Your GP has all your child's medical records. They will be able to get advice on how to make sure your child is protected safely.
Is the NHS still providing free test kits and information, and where parents or professionals get this from?
So we're not testing anymore for free, unfortunately. The test kits are, and the reason for this is two things. So one, now the majority of the country is vaccinated. The risk of catching COVID is so much less. So we're not trying to control the spread as we were a year ago. And the second reason is the test kits are expensive, and government is having to say, should we buy test kits for everyone, which is hundreds of millions of pounds every week, or do we pay for more nurses in the NHS? And now they are saying, as we come into winter, from the NHS's perspective, the money is better spent on nurses and doctors than it is on test kits, because everyone is doing the right thing and getting vaccinated, and therefore we can start to behave like COVID is flu, and we don't test everyone for flu. So if you're vaccinated, COVID is like flu. The issue is we still have in Birmingham and across the country, we still have a lot of people that still haven't had the vaccine yet. And that's why we need more people. If you've not had the vaccine, please go and get started.
That's good. So in NHS, like as you mentioned, like doctors and nurses get paid, and like they're cutting off the funding from NHS. How affecting professionals this all? If you like to say about anything like this, because it's very important. We do need doctors, we do need nurses, we do need carers, and if it's no funding for NHS, how are we going to keep up with our health?
So there hasn't been a change in the funding to the NHS, but as we come into the winter, the NHS the winter is always most difficult for the NHS, because more of us get sick. So if we have problems like diabetes or heart disease, they're often worse when the winter gets cold, but also in the winter more people slip and fall and they break their bones, and then because it's darker we have more traffic accidents. So there's a lot more pressure on the NHS, and so at the moment the NHS is under a lot of pressure in the way that we would normally see doctors and nurses under pressure in December. But now it's come early. So we need every bit of money there is, but we also need all of us to do our bit to help protect the NHS by getting vaccinated and being sensible. You know, if you've got a health condition, take your medication, don't smoke, be active every day, do these simple things that mean it's less likely that you will put pressure on the NHS, because it is going to be a difficult winter, I think, for the NHS, as well as for all of us with the cost of living.
That's great. How high risk we looking for? Is like very high, or upcoming winter, or we just like we need to be fully aware of something at the right time, as you say, there's a winter coming, and these things can be happen. How bad can go, or which is to say, it's like we need to be very calm, or we need to be worried for that?
I think we do need to be worried. I think this winter is going to be very difficult for three reasons. I think we will see more COVID, and probably a different type of COVID coming. We will see a lot of flu, and also we will see people struggling to heat their homes and with the cost of living. And so now it's really important people do things that help reduce the risk to them, and that in turn will reduce the pressure on the NHS. So get vaccinated, check out on the council website the information about benefits. Don't be too proud to accept that help is there. We know in Birmingham every year over £1 million, which is there to support women and children who earn less money, is not claimed, because people don't know how to claim it, or they don't feel they're able to. Now is not the time to be proud. Now is the time to get the help that you're entitled to. So please, on Birmingham City Council, on Sandwell, on Solihull, on almost every council in the country, on their website they have information to tell you these are the things that you can help if you're struggling with money or you're entitled to benefit and support, because vaccination and getting what you're entitled to will really help us this winter.
Will be very, very helpful for the people who are struggling with at the moment. with a lot of issues with the cutdowns and a lot of funding coming, pay rate, you know, like I can say things are getting they say very expensive and rates getting higher for a lot of things. And can you tell me, like, if some people don't have like idea of where to go and how to apply and where to find the information on the website, because we still have a lot of elder age people who are not very good on the computers or anything, so where they can go to find the help, who help them?
So I would say that there is a lot of help out there. If you're not great at using a computer, then certainly if you come from our Muslim community, I would say go and talk to the masjid. I certainly most of the masjids, the mosques in the city, absolutely will sit down and help you with the website. There are also citizens advice, and there are lots of community organizations as well that offer free advice. Please don't pay for advice. There are people out there who will help you for free. Yes, and give you free advice. So I would say in your local community, talk to your friends. If you have someone like a district nurse that comes to visit, or you have a carer, ask them. They may be able to help you as well, because there is a lot of help and support out there. But as you say, not everyone is great at the internet, and sometimes you need someone to just help you explain the forms, and that's where some of our faith communities can be really, really helpful.
That's great. So these all help and funding, can you imagine how people are going to be in difficult probably financially and by health-wise, how much this is help is coming, and you really think this is going to be helpful for, or is just the sum of help will keep us going through this time?
I think so. The amount of money that people can access, they can get, depends on your circumstances. So it's not the same for everyone. And there is a fund called the Household Support Fund for families with young children that gives out money, and that can help when there's a crisis. So it can help to buy shopping, or it can help to pay a bill. The Healthy Start vouchers, so anyone who has a child under 4 and who is on a low income should talk to their midwife or the health visitor, or go to one of our children's centres and ask for help about that. Now that's about, I think it's about £9 a week of free fruit and vegetables. Now that doesn't sound a lot, but it helps. You know, every little bit helps.
Very like from long time this they have people know, or most of people know about this. Is anything which is new coming up, and probably parent or the people who having a difficulty they don't know? Is anything new? Because it's, most of the things we know, like parents receive this, like usually, like I know as well, I've been helping parents which are they've been receiving, and I'm at parents who've been receiving these vouchers and everything. But anything different happen?
So first of all, I'd just say on the vouchers, the Healthy Start vouchers, about 30%, so almost a third in Birmingham are not claimed. So although you may know about them and some of the people you work with know about them.
I definitely don't know, they don't claim, but I don't know who can claim and who don't know, like how come parent doesn't know they can claim? Because as far as I know, when child born, every children, like they take it to the GP or the health visitor or midwife or anyone. So how come these parents are not aware of and not claiming?
I think some of it is people don't know, and anyone who's on universal credit, and they are more than 10 weeks pregnant, or they have a child under 4, they can access it. Or if the family's monthly take-home pay is less than £408, then you can get that. There's also child tax credit, which again, the children's centres are probably the best place. If you've got a small child or you're pregnant, pop into one of the children's centres because they're the experts on this. The new money, and that's been around now for about 2 months, and this comes from government in we got £6 million for Birmingham. That's just run out, so we're getting some more in September. and that's called the Household Support Fund, and that's new money to support families that are really struggling. Now, it's not like the vouchers where you get them every week. It's one-off money when things
One-off
are in
payment.
crisis. Yes, but again, that can be accessed through the children's centres, through social workers can help. So there is some support there, and there's information on the council website as well. And the council's added some of its own money into the Household Support Fund to try and bridge the gap between the money we get from government, because we've used the 6 million and they've said there's another 6 million coming, but we've got to wait a few weeks. So we're using some of the other money the council has and not spending it on other things, but putting it into this support fund, because it has already helped thousands of families in crisis. So there is some new support, which is really when people are in trouble. The other thing that people often don't think about is the fuel support. So there is support with fuel and with council tax. And again, I think what's different this time is many people who are not on universal credit, but maybe earn 24, 26,000, so normally would be okay, because the price of energy is rising. They're going to, for the first time, really struggle to pay their bills and feed their families. And they're not used to asking for help because they always paid their bills. So I think that's what's different this time, is that the people who...
I think scary when big bill come and you know you have to pay, you do installments, or you just put your direct debit or something. People are not aware of like how they're using electricity and gas units and how much. I literally was watching something on online, and I found that it's like people saying, okay, because electricity rates on a day and night time is it different, so people just put that, like, I find it very funny. I find they're saying, okay, I'm going to put my washing machine at the night time. So it just like for me made me search through this all. Does that really work? And I was very surprised. People doesn't know these like little things, they don't know, and they don't like focus on okay, how much we're paying, how we're paying, and what we're getting charged. Exactly the same way that people don't claim because they don't know they can claim or they're entitled to. People said, okay, we're working, we cannot claim anything. People's on benefits or on different circumstances, like they say, okay, probably we can, probably we can't. But why? Automatically at the moment I've seen a lot of parents being paid. There was like £600 and something was payment, and most of the parents have received, I think, half of payment or half of they're going to receive in after later on in a few months, and they have received that automatically. Most of the parents did not claim. Exactly
so
the
that
same
was,
way.
I think,
Why how come, like I don't understand, like if it's a system, it work for everyone same and systematically, like is people get automatically like letters and awareness of everything, so how come so many people don't claim or they're not aware of it?
I think some things were easier. So the money that came through from government to help with the fuel bills, and that's the one that like everyone has got, that was easier because everyone got it. The harder bit is when it's only if you meet certain criteria, and that's why the government can't just put it all in everyone's bank accounts. People have to say, yes, I want it and I meet the criteria. So it is frustrating in a sense that people aren't necessarily getting everything that they need. But as you said, there are some simple things. You know, I only do my washing at night. Because it is cheaper. It only makes a small difference, but it does, all of that counts. You know, if you're going to charge your mobile phone, charge it at night when the electricity is cheaper. Charge up your laptop or your computer at night, and then don't plug it in during the day, and you can work for most of the day on a full laptop, and then it will run down in the evening, because every penny counts. And you know, in most communities and most faiths, we're taught to look after the pennies because the pounds will look after themselves. But in today's society, because we can touch our card or our phone to pay things, we forget.
Yes, it's very,
So it's,
and as we hear on, heard that school is going to be 3 days because going to be shortage of electricity. In October, going to be shortage of a lot of probably, again, food and stuff. So these all like stuff people not aware yet. And I think it's not too much awareness because we don't want to make people like worry or in, you know, like in stress. So like it's things that happen, but it's like not going to be staying forever. We hear in certain circumstances, like if we passed the pandemic and fight it so good and bravely, I think we can do this as well. And I know it's worrying for a lot of people with NHS. People doesn't have enough probably food, or you know, like financially they lacking back of a lot of things. But I think it's always a help there, and I don't know how long it's going to be circumstances like this, but I think this little help going to help us at this time. At the moment, we're getting help this from government. Birmingham City Council, I think we have another video of vaccination with the adults, and I'm going to go back then. I don't want to forget that video, so I want people to see that video as well, Justin. So let's see that video and see how adults get the vaccination.
Some people might think that vaccines are just for children, but it is important for people of all ages to get vaccinated. Vaccines are safe, effective, and can be life-saving. They protect our health and the health of those around us from serious illnesses, saving 2 to 3 million lives per year. Whatever age you are, it is never too late to get vaccinated. Finding out if you are up to date with your vaccines and which vaccines might be right for you couldn't be easier. Simply visit the NHS website or drop in at your local health centre or GP surgery. Save lives, reduce disability, and keep your community safe. Get vaccinated, stay protected.
As everyone's seen the video, how important it is to get vaccination, and as Justin said, like winter coming, and probably we find more illness, more different type of COVID, or I don't know how bad it's going to be, or how like it's never going to be good. As far as I know, it's never good. Any illness is not good, not for the adults, not for the children, and especially with the older people who have a very weak immune system. So I will advise everyone, as Justin explained so much to us. I think information never enough, but I think awareness is always enough. If it's tiny bit of you hear it, just make it as we do that, like the, you know, the little Chinese whisper, spread it everywhere and let everyone know how important is the vaccine, and advise everyone who hasn't had yet vaccine. I know so many people talking about vaccine is not good, we're having a side effects. It's always when we have a paracetamol, even paracetamol, just as Justin said, have a side effects. You know, little leafleting everywhere. Get advice from your doctor. Go to the GP. Probably you can find in your surgery any leafleting, or if your children's people doesn't have internet, I'm going to advise you sit down with your children. Sit down with the people who can explain to you, your friend, any family friend, your, you know, like children's, for the people who do know about the COVID and they know how to use the website. Go and find out where to get vaccine, and please get vaccinated because we're protecting each other here. As I say, we're here on the earth to save another human beings, and as the doctors are doing their great jobs, they are now hat off to them. Like I've been seeing NHS nurses, doctors been very, very busy. They have a great, I think, great job, and God chosen them for us. We need to help. We cannot rely on, okay, doctors there to help us, but we have to do something ourselves. They say God help those who help themselves, so we need to get vaccination. And by the financial support, as Justin you mentioned, I'm going to tell everyone, you guys need to go on the website, speak to the surgery, speak to your local services, wherever you can get your help, and please do get this help. And as Justin said, so many people don't claim a lot of, because find out what you can claim and what you're entitled for, and this is your right. It's your right to get everything. You're not asking. If you don't ask, you don't get. You're not asking something. That is your right to get something. So please, everyone. Thank you so much, Justin. You've been sharing a lot from me. Anything else you want to share with us, and anything else we missed? If I missed anything, I want you to share with me, because obviously you're the one sitting
Sure.
on a main position there and looking with your very big scope, like to looking at everyone, because you know a lot of stuff what happening. People here, we sit down and we talk, we think, we hear things, and we believe. But whatever you say today is, people will
Sure.
hear it with very, I think, good intention, and it's very information, like very good information for the people who wanted to know a lot of things. Anything you want to say more about the vaccine or about the health?
Sure. So I'd say couple of things. First of all, if you're worried about vaccines or you're confused about which vaccines you should get at what age, please look at the NHS website. NHS.uk. It's written by doctors. It's written for you. It works with the translation software on the website. So if you've got Google Translate, something else, that will translate the web page for you as well. So please look there. At every age, vaccine is important. So if you came to the UK as an adult, please check with your GP, because we can do catch-up vaccines if you didn't have them in the country that you grew up in. And the final thing I would say on the vaccines is it's really important not to forget vaccines as you get older. So if you're over 70, the pneumococcal vaccine protects you from pneumonia,
Okay.
and the shingles vaccine protects you from shingles. And shingles is really, really painful. It's a nasty, nasty disease. So these are two, as well as the flu vaccine and the COVID vaccine. It's also important, if you're over 70 and you haven't had the shingles vaccine or the pneumococcal vaccine, talk to your pharmacist or to your GP. And that's my final point. If you've got questions, I know it's really hard to get to your GP at the moment. The GPs
Very hard.
are working flat out. My husband is a GP in Small Heath, and he works until midnight most days. It is very hard at the moment. Don't forget your pharmacists. Pharmacists go to pharmacy school, like medical school, for 6 years. They're very educated people, and they're very, very knowledgeable about vaccines. So if you've got questions, particularly about childhood vaccines or the flu vaccine, please pop in and see your pharmacist, because they're very good at explaining the side effects and when they're due as well. If you can't get to your GP, always remember your pharmacist is a healthcare professional, and they're very, very knowledgeable.
So is these vaccines, just you mentioned, what is the, just if you can quickly, because I've got very less time, I want to explain what is the side effects and how can people find out what illness they have.
So if you have a look on the NHS website, so if you put NHS and vaccine into Google or nhs.uk and look at the vaccine page, it explains all of the different vaccines at the different age groups.
Great.
If you have children, then the important ones are 6-in-1. They have that injection, those injections before they're 1 year old, and the measles, mumps, and rubella vaccine, MMR, and they have that between 1 and 5.
5.
If you have school-age children, then the vaccine against meningitis and the HPV vaccine against cervical cancer, they will have those when they're around 10 to 12. If you're an adult, COVID and flu, if you have, particularly if you have a health condition like diabetes, and for anyone over 50, COVID and flu, and in the over 70s, pneumococcal for pneumonia and shingles vaccine.
Great.
I may have forgotten one or two, but do have a look on the NHS website. But
That's what I'm going to say.
the
Everyone, I
simplest
think,
way.
keep saying to everyone, you need to go on a website or speak to your GP or your local pharmacies, like everywhere
Absolutely.
have advice. I see so many leafleting and posts, and obviously it's everything nowadays on the internet. And if you don't know how to use internet, or you're not very fan of using the internet, then definitely sit down with the person who can, probably your children, probably your mutual friends, or anyone. Just go to the GP, tell them how to explain like everything, how important is vaccine. And I think we came so far, and at this point, it's not this much we need to be worried. We came out so far at that point now. We need to be a little bit more careful. So please, everyone, I'm going to request everyone, like from you as well, because please do get vaccination, and keep yourself safe and your children. I just need to spend so much well to us. If it's anything we missed up, anything you need to know more, go and speak to your GP or your local practice. And as I said again, pharmacists all have loads of information, and you can get advice, and they can speak to your doctor on behalf of you. They can guide you where to go and how to done your vaccination. Health is very important, especially for those who are suffering already with a different illness, and they need to be protective. And getting vaccine is not, I think, very harmful. It's a protective. It's protecting us like from many different kind of illness. So please, definitely, we need to be vaccinated. And thank you so much, Justin, to have you here. And if I sit down, I can discuss more and more and more, never ending. But thank you so much giving us your time, and I wish you all the best. And thank you so much giving us this information and sitting today with us and speaking about the very important matter we're having. Thank you so much, and definitely going to see you soon if you need to again. Definitely have a very good evening.
Have a lovely afternoon.
Same to you. Same to you. Thank you so much. As we are here, Apni Sehat. We just spoken to Mr. Justin, and like we have so many discussed with different health issues and talked about vaccine. So if it's anything, again and again, keep yourself healthy, keep yourself going with vaccine, and do not hesitate to speak to your GP if it's anything. Inshallah, we're going to see you probably again with a different topic. Today's topic was NHS and vaccine, which we discussed today. So inshallah, we're going to see you next week and with a different topic. Thank you very much for watching us. Allah Hafiz.
الله أكبر لا إله